Hey guys, how you doing? It's Kevin in the shop today. It's raining outside, so I thought this would be a great opportunity to get some much needed sharpening done. I tend to procrastinate my sharpening, so I got a lot of it to do. I got some kitchen knives, I got some pocket knives, but what I really want to talk about today is how I sharpen my pruning shears. This can be a little bit intimidating for some people because it requires a different tool set and a slightly different technique, but it's not that hard. I'll take you along the ride a little bit with the knives, but I really want to focus on the pruning shears and loppers today. So let's get sharpening. So I'm starting with a 320 Sharpen glass splash and go stone for the knives that are really dull, or what I consider really dull. Most people would still be using them in the kitchen for probably years. And that's all we need. About 6 or 7 strokes on that side. Switch to the other side. I tend to switch hands when I'm sharpening. So all I do, and all you really should be doing, is laying your knife flat on the stone, tip it up until that shadow disappears and that bevel is in contact with the stone. It's not rocket science. And then try to maintain that angle. Any technique you want. You could do little tiny push and pulls. You can do long strokes. It's easier to do small sections at first, like this. But you're better off doing longer strokes once you get used to it. Love these Spyderco folders. They're my absolute favorite knife. You can see I use and abuse these knives. All right, next is the Benchmade. I will do a review on this knife at some point, but suffice to say, I don't like it. I don't like their locking system. I don't like automatic assist, even though it is easy to fling open. I don't like when I'm closing it. Sometimes it snaps closed and I feel like it's gonna catch my fingers. I don't like this upside down clip. It's too tight. Blade's too long. Yeah, that's basically my review on it. I don't like it, but it's a nice box opener because of the long, skinny blade. It's basically what I use it for. Whatever towel you're going to use, you want one that doesn't have too much lint on it. That's why I got rid of that red towel I was using. It was leaving too much lint on the edge, and then that grinds into your stone. You also want something that's thick because it's real easy to cut yourself when you're cleaning it off. Those are the things they don't tell you. A little less toothy now on this stone. I got a little bit right there I want to get rid of. All right, now I'm going to go one more pass or 2 more passes maybe on each side. Real light, just to try to knock that burr off. That burr is basically your frenemy. You want it there so that you know you've apexed the edge, but you also need to get it off your back if you want a super sharp knife. Stone definitely has a pretty good hollow in it. It doesn't really affect the sharpening that much, but you can see there. See how the outsides are high? I should probably flatten it soon. Should probably, don't mean I will. I can feel it though. Only really matters with tools like chisels and such. Woo! All right, guys, last knife. I'll spare you the 1000 grit, as it's basically the same thing. I might at least show you this on the Green Brick of Joy because it's the Green Brick of Joy. But basically, that's the process that I go through when I have to sharpen all these. Hope you enjoyed. You might be tempted here to really press down on your knife to try to get that polish to come out sooner, but you're going to roll your edge a lot easier that way, and all that work of keeping that nice and flat on the previous stones are going to be undone by convexing this. So just take it easy on these polishing stones. Slicing that water, driving it like a wave right down that knife. All right. Wicked sharp. All right, so one last thing with knives after you stone sharpen them, you're going to want to wash them out because you get a lot of that grit down in the liner lock, which isn't good. You can use a sink for that, especially if you have a head that can pull out and spray. But better than that even is a hose. If you got a hose, you got lots more pressure. Take and blow that shit right out of there. So just dry them off as best you can. If you're really worried about water in there, go ahead and just shoot it with a little forced air. Then take a little WD. I prefer silicone. Shoot it in there. If you got blades that are not stainless steel like this, you definitely want to cover that and cover the blade as well. Give it a little wipe down. Obviously, you don't want to do this on your kitchen knives, at least not with WD-40. All right, so what do you do when you get a pair of loppers that are in this condition? These are actually my dad's. He tends to let them go really far. You can see this is not sharp, never gonna cut anything, just gonna squeeze, pinch, and crush the fibers of whatever you're cutting. Well, you need some files, and you need small files. I will link these in the description below, but any small file will do. If all you got is one of these chainsaw files, this will do for most of it, and you could make it work for all of it, at least on loppers this size. Get it chucked up because some way or somehow you need to get this clamped down. This one needs to be cleaned up all the way back on this primary bevel. So let's go ahead and do that, and you're going to have to do that by draw filing. So let's just try to get some of this rust off of there and see what we got. All right, let's say you don't have a small file of any kind, and a big file is obviously going to make it difficult to do this work. What else can you use? Well, you can always just get a square of sandpaper. This is 80 grit, and clean this up some. That works pretty well. What I really like are one of these. If you got a girl in your life, you probably recognize this as a nail file. But these actually work really well to clean this up. Just going to work that secondary bevel back. Start flattening that out. This is why I like these small files for this job. I'm not saying you couldn't do it with a large file. I'm sure you could, but it's just not the tool for the job. Notice I'm draw filing at this point. One place you can't quite do that is right in here. But you do want to get that sharp back area because this is where you do a lot of the work with loppers. So of course loppers are a single bevel tool, and if the back is way out of square or rounded over, you are going to want to file this flat or sand this flat as well. I'm going to take a file and just clean this up since this one is so bad. Just hold that as flat as you can. All right, honestly, that's about all we need to do with these, especially because they're dad's, not mine. Calling that good. Let's move on. All right, this is why I don't like having gloves on here. Again, I am definitely not one to be giving you advice on how to sharpen a chain. All that I would say is that it's not wizardry. Anybody can do it if you have a little bit of filing skills. Get somebody to set you up with the right size file. You need to be able to fill that gullet up so that you're sharpening the top of the tooth. And if turning the file is too difficult for you, forget it, man. Just wear the file out on one side on one tooth and then turn it on the next one. One thing I do that's different than pretty much anybody I've seen, the last few strokes, I hold the tooth with one finger and then I file with one hand because I don't like when the chain moves back and forth this way. You can compensate for that by moving your file, but I find it's just a lot easier to hold the tooth and just real slowly with the file. I'm sure somebody will give me shit for that, but it's the result that I care about, not the technique. Just get comfortable, fall at that angle, don't worry about turning your file. As I said, I like to hold that tooth. One or two strokes at the end. Yes, sir.